not know this, but I'm a big fan of Batman. I have the collector's edition of Arkham City, all the worst Batman films on DVD and one of the best, a Batman shirt, and another, just in case, a steadily growing collection of Batman comics and graphic novels, and on top of all that, I'm pretty much the atheist of Batman fans, as I never shut up about how Arkham Asylum is the best game ever made and you're all stupid if you disagree. But when Arkham City came out in 2011, I didn't really like the whole free roaming thing as much as I thought I would, and by the looks of it, that's now a staple of the franchise. Nevertheless, I was looking forward to Arkham Origins, despite it not being made by Rocksteady, and despite it being yet another origin story. Is there really anyone out there that still doesn't know how Bruce Wayne became Batman? Really, how many origin stories does one superhero need? This is one of those cases where I chose to ignore all the trailers and gameplay clips, just so I could go into this experience with a fresh, open mind. I always believe that's the best way to go into games, and for a franchise that I love as much as the Arkham series, that's kinda how I wanted to do it. But as a result, I don't really have anything to say about it because I know next to nothing about the game. Again, that's kind of how I like to go into things, so, without further ado, let's get into Batman Arkham Origins. Within the first hour of playing the game, there were two things that I noticed. One is that it isn't really Batman's origin story at all. In fact, the game takes place 2 years after Batman's inception. Sure, the death of his parents do play a pretty major role in the story, but it's centered more on the origin of Batman's relationship with his enemies. More time is devoted to developing the Joker's origin, and his fascination with the Batman, while also exploring Batman's psyche, why he does what he does, why he doesn't want to kill. Even Alfred works his way into the story pretty well, who is struggling to accept Bruce's new alter ego, and as his guardian, believes he's sending himself off to die. Yeah, it's all been seen in the comics before, but it's great to see it in the game. The game also lays out the events of the many partnerships that are born throughout the franchise, showing Commissioner Gordon going from not believing in the Bat to trying to hunt him down to becoming his most trustworthy ally. So it's great to see that instead of retreading the same old ground of a typical cash-in origin story, they set the foundations for the origin of Batman's world, as well as including a pretty awesome story featuring a wide range of characters. Oh, and the other thing I noticed is that the title screen is really awesome. As far as the Arkham games go, Warner Bros. Montreal made the transition almost flawlessly. The combat, stealth and exploration all feel exactly how they should, albeit with some new minor additions. While it doesn't really make much sense from a story standpoint for Batman to have more technology here from Arkham City, it's still cool from a game development standpoint. When games are all about taking that little step forward with innovation, it doesn't always make much sense when it's done with a prequel, but I'll let it slide. Gliding around Gotham City and what will later become Arkham City is just as awesome as ever, even if the frame rate does get kinda bad at times. I've seen some reviewers complain that for a city that's supposed to be filled with people and homes, the streets are pretty empty and silent, but to me that doesn't really seem like a legitimate thing to complain about. It's nearing midnight on Christmas Eve and the streets are lined with maniacs with baseball bats and a vigilante dressed as a bat. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I would be out on the street either. You can still pick up the odd conversation from henchmen as you glide over highways and alleyways, and it's all really cool. Although it does feel like a bit of a cheat for Warner Bros. To hype up this huge map, when half of it we've already been exploring since 2011. At the time of this review, Arkham Origins seems to be getting pretty mixed reviews, with some people saying it's awesome and others not very good at all. And honestly, I have to say, I have no idea what they're talking about. This game is awesome. I literally don't understand how someone could like Arkham City, but not like Arkham Origins. Okay, so maybe the game doesn't utilize that many new ideas, aside from a few new gadgets and enemy types. And yeah, maybe most of the new villains are pretty lame. Wait, really? Copperhead? Electrocutioner? I don't know who you are. Why should I care about you? The thing is, the world of Batman has so many villains to choose from. Why not put more emphasis on the Mad Hatter, or Hush, or Man-Bat, or bloody Clock King? I admit that there are problems with Arkham Origins, but hell, Batman Arkham Asylum is without a doubt in my top 5 games of all time, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have its problems. The boss battles sucked, the intro was tedious, Commissioner Gordon looked way too muscly, and the ending was completely disappointing and anticlimactic, leaving us with an unsolved cliffhanger. So do a few problems really stop Arkham Origins from being awesome? Of course not. I do have to say though, Arkham Origins does use 90% of Arkham City's assets, so really will you ever feel like you're doing or seeing anything new. But I said it in my new Super Luigi U review, and I'm gonna say it here. It's by default a good game because it's a by the numbers rehash of another good game. And that might sound bad, but with an awesome story, hours of stealthing, combat, collectibles, and exploration to be had, who's complaining? There are a lot of times when the game literally copies and pastes sections from the past Arkham games, even if they are subtle. You're hallucinating that you're in Wonderland and you have to dodge this pendulum. Sounds a lot like when you're in Scarecrow's Nightmare in Arkham Asylum and you have to dodge the pendulum. When you're in the steel mill and you have to pull the crane to rip off part of the wall. It's a lot like Arkham City when you're in the steel mill and you have to pull the crane to rip off part of the wall. But the one thing Arkham Origins does to redeem all of this is the new crime scene mechanic. If you saw my Remember Me review a couple of months back, I was talking about replaying memories by fast forwarding and rewinding to find new information. I was saying how more games really needed to implement this. Someone from Warner Bros. Montreal must have been listening, as these parts of the game are amazing. You really begin to feel like the world's greatest detective as you scour the crime scene, listening to Batman piecing it all together in his head.
These white streaks are shoe polish. Whoever shot Tiffany was being dragged along the floor.
The only reason I can think people will feel weird about this game is due to the lack of Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, the previous voice actors for Batman and the Joker respectively. But Roger Craig Smith does a fantastic job of capturing a younger Bruce Wayne. You forget almost instantly that you're not listening to Kevin Conroy himself. And Troy Baker as the Joker, holy crap, is truly the gaming equivalent of Tom Kenny, Charlie Adler, and Mel Blanc combined. Is there anything this guy can't do? Seriously. Mark Hamill's Joker is one of those voices that you need to get down. It's either good or it's crap. There's no fine line where it sounds okay-ish. But oh my god, Troy Baker knocks it out of the bloody park. Keeping in mind that he is playing a younger Joker, so there are a few differences from the Mark Hamill voice. But I seriously would not mind if Troy Baker voiced the Joker in everything from now on. If I was Mark Hamill, I would rest easy knowing that I could retire and the TV, film, and gaming industry would not lose an irreplaceable voice. After voicing Booker DeWitt, Joel, and now the Joker, this guy is probably rich. Overall, Batman Arkham Origins is just as good as Arkham City. I know that might be a slightly controversial opinion to a lot of people, but I don't care. This game is awesome. Seeing websites like IGN and GameSpot give this game a 7 out of 10 honestly baffles me. Are people really that spoiled by the Arkham games by this point? I don't understand giving a game a lower score just because it's the same as a game that came before it. It only makes sense to me that Warner Bros. Montreal would play it safe, knowing that they're a different developer and Rocksteady are already hard at work on the next groundbreaking Arkham game. I honestly commend them for keeping it safe. Instead of thinking, yeah, we can make a game as good and impressive as Rocksteady, we don't need them to make a great game. They made Arkham Origins with respect to Rocksteady. If you're really complaining that this game didn't blow you away like Arkham City did, don't worry. The next game is on the way. In the meantime, let's enjoy this game for what it is. An awesome character study of Batman and the Joker. Here's hoping that this isn't the last we've seen of Smith and Baker in their new roles.
Jim, 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 Jim.
Jim, James, Jimothy.